Hi everyone, thanks for attending for the event, and to those online, hi. So welcome to our second collaboration with Microsoft and also a couple of times with Maxis. We have from WWCODE and we have representative from Microsoft and Maxis as well. So this event is a level up 2.0 hosted by Microsoft, and the topic would be creating applications using ChatGPT. Sorry, it's more like OpenAI, which we will go into details later on. So can we go to the next slide, please? Okay, a bit of background on WWCODE. I'm not sure if everyone knows about us. We are founded in 2014 in Kuala Lumpur, but actually we are a global non-profit organizations founded in San Francisco way back. We hosted a lot of events. Thank you. Yeah, we host a couple of events like workshops, talks, panel discussions, mainly on technology-related topics. Our mission is to empower women in technology, but we welcome all genders to join us. Right. If you can see, we have a couple of events happen. One of it is actually hosted with Microsoft Maxis, and then we hosted one with Microsoft last month as well. So there'll be more upcoming. Stay tuned with us. Can we go to the next slide? Oh, okay. More pictures for you. More proof that we
very active.
So just a bit of our agenda of the day. We are slightly running a bit late because of some of the technology issues, traffic jams, and etc. as well. So we will start with a welcome note from WWCODE and then Microsoft. Then we will have Maxis to give a note of welcome note. Then we will go into the topic of the day, starting with something light, which is a panel discussions. We will tap into the innovation that we can see obviously recently and how does this impact the job market right now. The panel would be mainly Casandra from Microsoft and also Slyvia from Maxis. And I will be the moderator for the day. Next, we will have like a short 5-minute break just for you guys to grab some drinks and a toilet break. We will then enter the most exciting part that everyone is excited about, which is a walkthrough or demonstration by Delyn from Microsoft. Then after that, we will then end it with a short photo sessions, and that's called a day, right? Then everyone feel free to stay back to linger around and also talk to a few of us if you would like to ask about things, right? Can we go to the next slide? Okay, so I would request everyone, the one that's here and also the one online, if you can see the QR code, you can just scan it. This is the platform where we will be using to collect questions that you would have throughout the sessions. So if you feel shy to ask on the spot or if you feel shy to ask in the chat, you can just use Slido. Alternatively, if you don't prefer scanning QR code, you can go slido.com and the meeting room is 366
intelligent Zoom if you downloaded the
app. I hope everyone by now is in. If not, I will be putting the meeting room number there. Then you can scan it as well. Okay. The next one is I would like to invite Casandra to give a welcome note for everyone. Thank you.
Sorry, let me just do a quick sharing on my end. Sorry, a bit of tech issue here. We're trying to do multiple roles. We want to present. We want to be the tech setup person. We want to do everything all in one together. Okay, so just a quick intro of what we do. Basically, I'm Casandra. So my daytime job, my full-time job is basically the GTM lead for model and security for Microsoft Malaysia. But my part-time role, I always tell people, I actually did I do have some colleagues together with me. So we have Daphne is out of the room. So she's also part of the Women at Microsoft community together with myself. And we also have Mayan, Sarah, and a few of the members. So it's a big team. Basically, what I was thinking, right, is just to give you a view of what do we do in terms of D&I in Microsoft Malaysia, right? So a bit of the intro.
Sorry.
Yeah, so I think probably you guys know this person. He's our CEO, Satya Nadella. So in terms of our company mission, this is what we pledge to do, right? Which is to empower every person in the planet to achieve more together, right? And then in terms of the D&I mission specifically, it's to amplify, accelerate, and activate a diverse and inclusive environment within Microsoft. And we also advocate in our customers, our partners, as well as communities. That's why we're doing this today, right? And next, if we can look into, sorry, just one more.
Sorry.
I need to build up the.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, this is a bit deep in terms of what do we do exactly in terms of D&I. So I just wanted to draw your attention into the few color boxes that we have here. How will we do it? Because normally what you probably already know, right? But how do we do it? So in terms of the how, we actually split it into 4 of these areas in terms of transforming our own culture, right? How do we then create that inclusive and diverse culture within Microsoft? And then after that, this is where we can then empower our own people before we can go out externally and start sharing our stories, right, with external. Right, so that's what we do. And in terms of together with our customers, our partners, and community, we also do a lot of like collaboration as such. So we have done some with Maxis previously. We also have done some with some other clients, and we welcome, you know, any of you, if you are keen, we can always collaborate and drive this mission together. Right, so next. This is just a quick sharing in terms of the ERGs that we have within Microsoft. This is just a quick view in terms of globally, what do we have as an ERG? So you can see like Asians at Microsoft, that's disability or accessibility. Then we also have families, that's LIM, OLA, indigenous, military. But specifically in APAC, or rather Malaysia, right? It's the one that we actually have the purple stuff. I need to be very careful. Purple stuff, right? That's the women at Microsoft. That's us today. And then we also have the disability or accessibility, right? That's the group that we have that is very active. Unfortunately, the GLIM is a bit sensitive here, but in other countries like Philippines, Singapore, and other countries, they are more active lah. Just at Malaysia, we are, you know, this is a bit sensitive here lah. So we don't really have that ERGs, right? So, sorry if I can just have. Yeah, so this is the team, the whole D&I team. So our exec sponsor is our MD, Kiraman, and then we also have our D&I lead, who are Millie. Some of you might know her. Then we also work very closely with our HR, finance, Sila, as well as our comms. And then you can look at, you know, there's a sort of like a purple column. This is where the Women at Microsoft team is. And then we also have the accessibility team. Like this is some of our teammates, in case if you are also keen or interested in terms of driving accessibility, we also can introduce you to our teammates, and then that's where maybe we can collaborate further. Right, if you don't mind. So this is just quick sharing in terms of what are some of the engagement and activities that we did, right, in terms of this year, last year, and the previous years, right? This is just a glimpse of what we have lost. So basically the Level Up 2.0, I'm not sure how many of you attended, but this was some session that we did previously, right? We also had our president who actually kicked off the session, and then we have Anne from Lead Women who actually also share more on the soft skill sides. And then we have Adley who actually covers more on the technical side. So we wanted to cover both soft skill and tech within the same session. Right, then we also work with JA, we also work with Pekeso and My Future Jobs, more on driving the women and cybersecurity space, right? And then that's the one that we did previously together with Women in Code, Grab, as well as Maxis together, right? And then we also did some I'm Remarkable workshop as well together with our team. If you don't mind, yeah. So this was the previous session we had. I'm not sure if you guys attended, but this is I find it very insightful because we managed to invite all these 3 very powerful and inspiring ladies from the FSI industries. So what they did, right, was basically they shared their journey in terms of how they actually move up the ladder, right? In terms of how they actually drive from a non-tech to a tech space, right? And very inspiring stories that they share, basically, right? And we actually wanted to do more, right? Again, if let's say you have something similar, you wanted to share, collaborate, do reach out to us. We are happy to do so. Yeah, I think with that, I will probably hand it to the Maxis team.
I think I should sit, right?
Yeah, so that we can see you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for having us. We're very happy to be here. I'm Aisha. I'm from the Inclusion Diversity team at Maxis. You're probably wondering why am I here, but this is part of what we do. We want to collaborate with different parties, not just women, other groups as well. But for tonight, yes, we're here with Women Who Code as well as Maxis. So please bear with me for a few minutes as I share a bit about what we do at Maxis in terms of our inclusion and diversity efforts. Next slide. So before anything, I'd like to share a bit about the foundation of what we do. And it starts with our vision and purpose as a company. Right? You've probably heard of our tagline, always be ahead. And that's the foundation of everything that we do. So what you see on this slide is our corporate strategy and our sustainability strategy, just to show you how this then drives into our inclusion and diversity narrative. At the same time, one thing I also want to point out is the fact that IND for us is IND, DNI for some, DI for others. IND is very much part of our culture too. And perhaps for some of you, you may have heard about how proud we are at Maxis of our culture, also known as Maxis Way. So we believe that IND is very much part of our culture at Maxis, being diverse, being inclusive across the company. Next slide.
Sorry. Oops.
So just to zoom in a bit further into our IND pillars, what we stand for in terms of inclusion and diversity. So number one, I won't read every single word there, but number one is centered around our diverse workforce, right? We believe in the diversity of our people and what everyone can offer, coming from different backgrounds, different experiences. And then we move to number two, where we also believe in an inclusive workplace, to allow everyone to feel comfortable enough, motivated to collaborate with one another, because we believe that this fuels innovation. And finally, we want to drive innovation through our Maxis Way culture. And again, like I said, we're very proud of our culture. And if you'd like to know more, come and talk to me, or we even have our head of culture, Agno, here with us. If you'd like to find out more. And then in terms of our ambitions, of course, as we're doing all this, it may sound, it sounds great, but what are we trying to achieve? Hopefully, in the coming 2 years, what we hope to see is a growth in the number of women in leadership roles. For here, we have set 40%, hopefully by 2025. We are also committed in growing our young talent population. And finally, we also want to be recognized as a leader in the IND space. So this coming here, collaborating with Women Who Code, collaborating with Microsoft is one of the many initiatives that we are doing to get to that position. Next slide, please. It's going to be a long journey. We started intentionally in 2021. We've done quite a number of things. Here are some highlights of the things that we're proud of from when we started. So one being when we became a signatory of the UNWEP. Internally, what we've done, a program that we're proud of is what we call the Unconscious Bias Workshop. And I'm sure we're not the only ones who have done it, but it's something that we're proud of. It's something that we are proud to continue with. And hopefully, if you stick around and see us in other events, hopefully we can share more about this program. Then along the years, we've done activities, the collaborations with different parties. We had internal events, like International Women's Day, are the kind of activities that we celebrate internally. And along the way, I'm proud to say that we've also won a few awards, one being the UNWEP award last year, or the year before,
we won an award for transparency and reporting. It was our first year attempting it, and we won an award for that. And then earlier this year, we also won an award for best in diversity category as well as employer branding from the LinkedIn from LinkedIn. Next slide. So we also have ERTs, just like Microsoft. So we're also very proud of our women at Maxis Employee Resource Group. Of course, they run a lot of activities, not just for the group, but also to encourage others to not just participate, but also become allies. So it's not just about doing activities that relate to women, but how can we promote collaboration across the team, men, women, everyone. We also have youth at Maxis that came a bit later, but more or less trying to promote collaboration, not just within the youth group, but across groups. We also have Maxis in-class, which some of you may have heard of. It's something, a flagship program, CSR program that we're proud of. It focuses on students, especially outside of big cities like KL, where we provide education through our connectivity. And then we are also proud of our volunteer squad group called M Squad. So those are just a few of the employee resource groups that we have at Maxis. We also have other groups depending on different interests within the company. So again, this is also part of inclusion and diversity, right? Where we want to encourage people to interact, collaborate internally. And why are we here? So we've done quite a bit in terms of promoting women in tech. Being a tech company, we believe that tech shouldn't be limited to a particular group only. And I'm proud here today to bring our head of data science, Slyvia, who will be talking during our panel session. But here you will see for the past 2 years, we've been actively showcasing our women in tech. Some of this content is actually taken from our social channels. So if you do follow us on LinkedIn or Instagram, you might have come across some of this content, but this is just some of the examples of what we're doing to promote women in tech, which is why we're here today. Hopefully there'll be more events like this where we'll get to not just interact with the tech community, but also showcase some of our people and perhaps attract some talents to also join Maxis in the future. So yeah, that's a bit of our sharing.
Okay, I think enough of company introductions. I think let's get to the main topic. Can we have our panel speakers today? We have Sylvia from Maxis. Sylvia, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello. Hi, my name is Sylvia. I'm from Maxis. I've been in the customer analytics and data science field for the past 10 years or so. So I've been working in a few different industries as well, basically banking, telco, and a very short stint in consulting. So that is
yeah, thanks, Sylvia. I think next we have Casandra from Microsoft. And I'll be the moderator for the day. So I think when I will skip introduction for Casandra because you have really done it early on, we will then talk about a bit on the innovations that's happening right now and also how is it impacting the job market. So I think everyone would be quite aware on a lot of things that's happening right now, which is all about AI, right? It's booming. To name some examples that I can have it, which is with me right now, that I am particularly more interested in is Hyper AI, which is something that you use to create videos with just prompts. We have Character AI, which is pretty popular recently, where it's a virtual assistant that you can just talk to, like a companionship app. There's Editor AI, creating a character GPT that creates an avatar from text, and they claim that they can be a very good competitor against ChatGPT, which is something that we can talk about it later on, Cassandra. But let's clear up some definitions, right, when we are talking about all these things. So I think questions to Sylvia, maybe on a high level, because I know Delyn would will be explaining a bit more in detail later. AI, artificial intelligence, right? So Sylvia, could you explain maybe high level what does it mean?
Yeah, sure. So I think most of you probably know already, AI is a field of computer science that focuses on developing intelligent machines. So it tries to create a machine that can think and do things that human can do. So I think it's split generally to two. There's a narrow AI and there's also a general AI. So narrow AI is like a machine that is designed to can only do a specific task. So it cannot generalize and do other tasks aside from what it has been designed to do, like a computer, image recognition, for example, like your Siri. And then the other one is a general AI. General AI is a machine that has a process, thought process that's like a human, but I believe this one is still in process, in research, so not yet available.
Got it. Thanks a lot. What about ChatGPT? Are they like general AI or?
ChatGPT is generative AI. It's one of the large language models. So there's a few type of large language models outside. ChatGPT 2.0, 3.5, and 4. This one is by the OpenAI. And then there's also, I think, Bird by Google. And there's Roberta, that is also a variant of Bird. And among that, there's others. So I don't know every.
There are a lot of models there.
So LLM models are actually using deep learning technique called transformers. So it actually tries to process, understand language like how human does that. So the models have a lot of parameters, like millions and billions. So the bigger the model, the more parameters it has, and the better the response that it can give you when you use it.
Got it. So I think you mentioned about OpenAI, and I also confuses OpenAI and ChatGPT quite a bit, right? Cassandra, maybe you can explain a bit like what are they and what's the differences?
Yeah, maybe to help me with this, right? Then can I ask, right, today, how many of you are actually using or leveraging ChatGPT? Probably everyone, right? In the room. Even like there was this discussion that we were on. Even they were saying even grandfather is using ChatGPT.
So thinking on daily basis now. All these questions, to be honest, I asked ChatGPT. Change it from there, okay.
So I think if I put it like simply, right, ChatGPT today you're using it like publicly, right? Whatever you want to grab, it's there for you, right? Based on the public knowledge that it gets from the internet, from the WWW website, right? But what happened is when it comes to OpenAI, you can think of it as your ChatGPT, but for your tenant or your environment, your organization. Because whatever you feed OpenAI, it will actually respond based on your tenant or your environment's information. It won't take the global or it won't take the public information. It will take whatever you have in your environment, because basically you want it to be, maybe it's PNC data, so you don't want it to be, exposed to the external world, right? So that's where you can use OpenAI. And then at the same time, I think later Delyn will be covering a bit as well. So in terms of the version, right, ChatGPT today is probably like 3.55, right? And for OpenAI, it's 4.0. So you can imagine, the more advanced capability it could give. So I don't want to steal Delyn's thunder. She will be doing a bit more deep dive later and walking you through, what specific information and capabilities you can get off the OpenAI piece.
Sorry, I think for my own understanding, is it correct that to say that ChatGPT is basically like a chatbot, like a smart chatbot, and then for me to utilize the power of similar tool like ChatGPT, it will be using OpenAI when they have the keys, the API keys for me to interact with them?
I would say ChatGPT is more public. But if you want something that is more specific to your own tenant environment, right, OpenAI is probably a better option for you. Yeah, because for example, right, you don't want your information that is PNC to go out to public, right? So you don't want to put, like, for example, some of your codes or whatever you have, right, that is a bit more private to external, right? So that's where you can probably leverage a bit more on the OpenAI side.
So when the company say powered by ChatGPT, they are actually underlying using the OpenAI technologies. Got it. So I can move to back to my options. Right. So I think we touched back on the use case of the ChatGPT and OpenAI, right? And I can notice that they are actually a lot of startups launching their products using the ChatGPT, the technologies. Some of the interesting ones that I found, I have to, these are all research by me, ChatGPT cannot give me. So like Nova, Snapchat is launching their My AI chatbot also. Something that's nearer, I know Sector has also launched their Sector GPT. I'm not sure whether they are using ChatGPT or not, but those are something that's related to AI and all, right? So I wonder, Sylvia, in your company, is there any undergoing development, or have you guys have adapted ChatGPT into your or any AI tools, right, into your product development?
Yeah, so for ChatGPT specific, we actually have some exploration of use cases. For example, one exploration is we are trying to summarize text, a call to text. So meaning like the customer will call in our agent, and then we get the summary in the text format. So this is, I think, to help us for record keeping, like to understand what is the issue that the customer is facing. Is it network, or is it customer just calling to compliment us? And then the other thing, sorry, I know rare, but we have about it. And then the other thing also that we are trying to explore is also email classification. Also is a customer care use case where we are trying to classify the email, the same thing. Is it whether a lot of the emails that we get from customers, is it asking us about our products, or is it complaining about our network, or is it again complimenting us on our good network? So yeah, I think what's the other thing? For personal growth, actually a lot of us are using it to help to write code. Right? Yeah. So it has this very good capability to generate a draft code, and then even if you want an advanced code, you can actually tell it to do more advanced code. But of course, we still need to validate it. Yeah. So it's not like we just copy and paste, right? So that's one of the usage that we have.
Nice. I think we heard a lot of use case on like customer service, those more client facing and collecting text to, for example, like coding kind of things. Is there any other use case that you have seen out there, Casandra, for your clients or anyone that you think I think?
I don't really have anything top of mind at the moment. I believe there's a lot more use cases that our team is actually, discussing with customers. I hope our team is actually supporting you coming up with.
Yeah. Okay, I think tapping on just now you were saying that private data, you might want to say within the environment, right? There are companies that actually ban their employees from using ChatGPT. Yeah. So what's your view on that?
Okay. So that question, I think a lot of people are thinking of doing it. Some did it. But to be honest, right, I think how we actually view this, right, and we actually got a lot of questions from customers on this. Should I turn off ChatGPT because it's also impacting us? We don't know how to control, right? We don't have a good control in place. But our guidance is, or rather, I would like to think it on a separate note or more positive tone. I would say rather than you banning it, right, or stopping and blocking people from using it, maybe it's better for us to come up with a better and clearer guidance to teach them how to use it instead. Because like it or not, right, well, they have phones, they can always, use their phone, right, to access, unless you are also blocking the phone access, right? But other than that, I feel that maybe blocking it or banning it, it will bring more harm than, teaching and guiding people for a more proper guideline or guidance.
It's like the parents
Yeah.
somehow without giving you.
You were doing even more, right?
Yeah, you're just doing behind the scene. But as when we using the OpenAI as well, right? So a lot of times we will train the model, or we will deal with a lot of data, right? So but as you are a data user, also data model, train data, is there any like advice that you could give in terms of like protecting the data or like the data security privacy kind of thing?
Okay, so going along that, I think I'll write on yours because actually the exploration that I mentioned earlier, the use cases, we're actually using a private instance for the ChatGPT, which is from Azure actually. So that means we don't go public GPT. The reason being is very obvious because we deal with a lot of customer data. Customer data is very private and also very precious. So obviously we do not want to upload the data into a public GPT to do any kind of research or analysis. So what we have also is actually the same policies regarding security and data security applies as well to the ChatGPT. So meaning actually we are not allowed to upload numbers or customer missing mobile numbers to ChatGPT. It will be blocked by our company security. And then another thing that I think our company is trying to look forward to, we obviously would like to encourage people to use ChatGPT because there are benefits to it. It's just that we will probably move towards a private GPT versus a public one for work purposes.
I think GPT also has a very good measure to encourage users to do the right thing. Because every time when I try to ask some questions which is a bit vague, right, and then they thought that I'm trying to do something dodgy, they actually mentioned that you're not supposed to do this or that I'm not supposed to do this, etc. So I think that's one of the advice or like one of the things that always keep us reminded. But coming back to this note also, I think coming back into the job market, we can tell that it's quite heavily impacted right now. A lot of people were saying that from a startup perspective, because I'm working in a startup, right? We always say that, we have this AI can create avatar using prompts right now, like the Mid-Journey that we're frequently using right now. You don't need a graphic designer anymore. And like ChatGPT right now can help you to write posts, like blogs, even create codes, right? That makes it so easy to create the application. Potentially, there are a few more jobs that will go missing, right? So questions that has been running around is whether AI will replace us or not, or we can actually still control AI right now. So Cassandra, do you have any thoughts on this?
I think the thinking now is the perception of introducing AI, ML, and everything, it will replace a person's job. But if we were to double click, right, and think of another way to probably relook into the skill sets that we have, right? One of the findings that we recently had, right, in terms of a work trend index. So basically, this is an annual findings that we do. For this year, the one that we just launched, basically, it actually looks across AI capabilities and functions, right? And say, will AI help us to fix work? So the findings actually share with us and tell us, right, basically, I think our thinking is a bit too extreme, right? From the findings, it's actually very positive. So you look at from the employee standpoint, right? Rather than people thinking of not using it, right? Don't want to use it, scared of using it because it will replace the job. They actually think of it as something that will be useful and help them. So for example, right, today, if you need to start something from scratch, for example, maybe starting some questions, right? Writing an application, rather than you starting from scratch, maybe ChatGPT can help you, give you a draft, right? Then you can use that. You don't necessarily need to follow, right? But you can then use that as your draft, and then you can further tweak it, right? So, don't you think that it actually helps you to save some time so that you can do some fine tuning, right? Tweaking. So from that angle, it actually helps. And then from the employee standpoint, so the finding was also very interesting. Instead of looking at that as a replacement of the employee, the employer actually thinks that this actually helps the employee further because they can then see, hey, it's more quality work, it's more quality job.
It also forces us to think, other than doing all these things, we can spend more time on thinking more.
Yes.
That's something different that we can think out of the job right now. And I always also think that ChatGPT right now, they are more like collecting all sorts of data from the network, and then we train it to come up with recommendations, which underneath we are the one that's creating the data, right? We are the one that's feeding the data. But what's your view on this? Do you think AI can outpower man, human?
Okay. I think currently my answer to that is I do not think so. Similar to you, I think we can use AI to actually help make our work more efficient, especially ChatGPT. Like you shared earlier, help us in coding, help us to start writing an application. Then of course, the other thing is then we move from we can automate the simple jobs, repetitive jobs, generate data, basic analysis, and then we can move on to a higher level thinking, higher level kind of task, complex tasks that would require more time, would generate more value. So that's how I think a person's role can at once with the help of AI. Then of course, sorry. Okay. So and then I think the other thing is AI also will create new roles. right? So when you have AI, you have people who need to understand what is AI, how to use the AI. Then if you want to implement the AI, someone to implement the AI, deploy the AI, and then with the advancement of AI also come another issue, which is all the risks, the worries. That we need like AI ethics, AI governance, AI policies to help govern all those application of AI within the workspace.
Agree. I saw a recent news that I think has been posted or something. SAP Labs is hiring 200 more AI engineers. I think other than that jobs, right? I can see in the future there's probably like a prompt engineer, particularly role for that, right? Is there any other roles that you think might pop up in the future? Just so that we can start prepping for ourselves.
In terms of role, I won't be able to comment much, but I feel that also the same findings that we have, right, and together with LinkedIn, so from their end, right, what LinkedIn actually shared with us is that they see more and more job scope with AI infused or AI mentioned there. So I think if you are thinking of switching job, learning new skills, maybe AI is something that you want to explore, because definitely there's more job out there looking for people with AI capabilities and skills. So, and I think also from the findings that we find, it's something interesting is that in terms of our skilling or our skill set perspective, rather than us learning how to code nowadays, we probably need to tweak a bit to look at how do we write a good prompt, to prompt the AI tools to help us to look for what we want, right? How do you ask the perfect and the right questions so that it will give you what you want? Right? So that's in terms of some of the skill sets that we sort of see from what people are telling us and from the research.
Thanks. I think there are a few questions on the Slido. So if you guys just join, you can join then. Slido.com and then the quiz. So some of the questions like let me see. I think this point out to Slyvia. Can you elaborate more on how the company is able to detect employees upload customer data to GPT? That's very technical.
Okay, that's a very technical
questions.
I don't have a technical answer to that, but I think we can use like image recognition to detect what are the files that attached to the application, and then if it recognizes like, oh, it looks like a number or it looks like some names or something, then it will then block.
I guess.
Yeah.
I think the company, the security details we probably know all this out, right? I think some of the security measure whereby they actually monitor what you have done using the company laptop, right? So when you upload something, they will scan it and see if it's a customer data related side of things. And yes, I think this is also tapping into what Casandra has said, right? AI might be the next big subject that everyone will be very interested to learn. So as from data team yourself, do you have any, how can we learn about this, right? AI, like where do we start as a very new person to this field?
Okay, good question. There's a few avenues, I believe. I mean, for some companies, they actually provide a lot of programs to upskill, AI, machine learning, so employees can actually take part, sign up for those programs. So if a company has it, definitely sign up for it. If not, don't worry, there's also a lot of programs outside. So there's a lot of platforms like Coursera, Coursera, Udemy, I think that LinkedIn as well. And I think some companies also provide even certifications and learning platforms for that. So all worst come to worst, you go to YouTube. Actually, because YouTube analysts, a lot of the AI practitioners also share a lot of things there. So you can actually learn a lot of even technical things from YouTube. So don't just watch customer.
Cassandra, you have any add-on? I think Microsoft has also a very expensive program for data analytics. I believe there will be one with OpenAI soon.
Is it? So just to add, right, in terms of Microsoft, what we can offer also, if you go to MS Learn today, right, there's also a bunch of modules that you can follow, not just AI. Of course, AI is one of the top ones. But if you are also keen on security, on data and AI, on Dynamics, ERP, CRM, everything and anything you can think under Microsoft, it's there actually. So it has from level 100 all the way to 300. And if you are also keen on certification, we also have the certification and the exams.
And I think we had sometimes there will be some hackathons happening. You guys can just join. And if the answer is still not satisfying, you can always ask ChatGPT. Okay, I think there are a bit more questions, but the one that has been flooding the chat is Microsoft or Maxis hiring? I need to answer this because I wanted to try to avoid it, but then I feel like this is the only place, and then the questions keep repeating right now. So chances for advertising.
Okay, I go first. Yes, we are hiring.
Yeah.
You can reach out to any of us, or later at the end of it,
Yeah,
you will
come
have
speak
a
to us.
QR code that you can scan for job availability. Yes, please join us.
So I think from our end, at the moment, I'm not too sure because sorry, I'm not from HR side. But I think we're always open to getting more talents. If you go to our career website, there's a bunch of them that you can actually apply. Not just in Malaysia, but you can also explore some other countries. If you are keen to, exploring, experiencing other cultures, you can also join those.
So I think coming on back to the GPT side, right? Has there been any shift in, like, let's say, the roles in Maxis or Microsoft, or even the clients that you have seen, like, as in like things that they maybe have cut down the workforce there and then increase it here and there, kind of examples? Is there any in Maxis? Like maybe they say I want to grow my data team right now. Double it.
Okay, the impact of ChatGPT is not so extreme yet. It's more like ChatGPT or AI or machine learning, people is just trying to adapt or incorporate it into their jobs. So it's not like nobody's getting the job cut yet. Okay, yeah. So now it's just trying to how to improve, our current job, our task with AI and ML. And then there's obviously roles for data and AI team has been always hiring for the past few years anyways. So we also incorporate, because we use more AI and ML, then we have teams like data scientist team, we have teams like research scientist team who actually does research. So data scientist team does more like machine learning applications, they build predictive models to solve business problems on a daily basis. And then the research scientist team, we actually do like deep learning research. So we do, I think there's computer vision, and also we did speech to text analytics. So there are also other teams within the company, like there's apparently a chatbot team that I think just focuses on researching on chatbot. I'm sure they are the one doing, I think, on the ChatGPT 3.0 now. And then we also have in existing divisions, you'll be surprised, like HR, we also have HR IT, we're actually using a predictive model even within the HR division. So this is how we are incorporating AI and ML. So no job cuts yet, just advancement in skills that
Right.
I
I think there's one more on the floor, right? Asking twice on this. Has Maxis started using NLP, which is natural language processing? Is there any specific team that's working on that thing right now?
language processing, I think it could be that speech to text.
Yeah, the speech to text one.
But the detail are not familiar.
Yeah.
My colleague is working
Yeah.
on it. So.
Just curious, right? The NLP and LLM, are they
Different models.
different
Different
models?
deep learning models.
Got it. Okay. Right. So I think I will open it up to the floor. Is anyone allowed? Because people was asking me, can I ask questions already?
Hi, good evening. I'm Kuala, I'm a software engineer. So just now when I listened to you all said that, okay, companies should open up to ChatGPT and everything when using normal cases. So I actually don't really agree. Why? Because from at least my company's standpoint is that we are not using ChatGPT is because of copyright issues in the code. So for example, right, we have this thing called cognitive pollution, where when you see a code, you cannot work on other code anymore because of potential copyright issues. So as we know, GPT, it does not know what it's talking about. It's basically just what we call a probability model. So how do we address this? We don't even know what we are looking at, and then yet we want such like workflow change. You get what I mean?
I think the way I see it, right, by not blocking it, that means you don't just take bulat lah. You take, but you have to tweak it. So at the end of the day, right, you will
Okay.
still be the person that, what do you call that? Yeah, you still be the person validating the information.
So how do you address issues like cognitive pollution, like people that look at other source code cannot work on this code anymore? So for example, there's this open source project called React OS, which is basically a clone of Windows. So those people that have looked at the leaked source code of Windows OS cannot work on that project anymore because of potential copyright issues. So how does this fit in the current narrative?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm not an expert in that area. I'm just talking like generically, no, we won't encourage you to block. I mean, if let's say there's really a reason for you to block, then, you know, we have to adhere to that.
I think I can discuss that a bit like in details with you later on. I have a couple of questions to ask on that. More questions, no solutions. So I was gonna, or anyone here actually has input on this thing also, feel free to raise your hand, then we can have a discussion. Else, yeah, else I will pass to the next one. Sorry?
What he says.
Yeah, the one that if you have any input.
When you code, right? Now you can search any code on the Google also.
Yeah,
So I think code is because software, we do software and part of software company. Even your colleague resign, you bring your code away. How would they take it? So what you think is just giving and giving. One thing they can benefit to the whole. Just don't bother much about it. Okay, my question is, first I'm very interested in this the speech text to speech, right? Or the text speech to text. I believe definitely you have a current tool before ChatGPT out. You've been using a tool to make speech to text. Speech to text. So what's the benefit or value added from ChatGPT as private, like using Azure? That means that you're currently using Azure to make it speech to text. What's the benefit compared with the conventional tools that you were using?
Okay, I think for that, the reason we are using Azure is because it's a private instance, meaning it's not in public. So the reason we want a private instance is because the data of our company, the customer data, is very important and very private. So we cannot upload it to a public entity. So that's why we are using on the private one. It's more on the security side. In terms of whether it changes our algorithm or anything, I do not think it affects to that level. It's just which channel or which platform that we are using it more on. That's all. It's just on the private one versus the public one.
How about the features one they can generate report? Because that to the ChatGPT, because a lot of people they not really know that how the ChatGPT, like you search a coding, they say it's quite simple, you can search very precise. But how they convert the speech to text like that, very curious, but we never see it. How you going to integrate to Azure? So what's the result? Do you need a report to come out? Oh yeah, at the back. Yeah.
So yeah, I think related to that, speech to text, text to speech, the added layer for ChatGPT is that it has semantics. So you can detect how positive you are, how negative you are. Immediately it come outcome for you. You need to work on it or no. Okay. So yeah, immediately it can detect your sentiment, whether it's positive, negative. You can extract out the details immediately. Even through the call text to speech, right? You can automatically process it on natural language. So your previous models, you will not understand conversations as much. So you'll be directly one-to-one Q&A. If you try Q&A Maker, the old models is very not dynamic. So using this new GPT model, you can enhance it, provide more concise and precise answers. You can even connect to your own knowledge base in Maxis itself to probably answer you.
So they still input to the knowledge base, right?
Depending on how the architecture is
so
set up.
then for they can generate some reports or study. Do you do a demo later on that?
Yeah, very sure.
Because why the reason I'm asking you because we are really super. So next time we got support. So we are thinking that this will be used as a tool for us to give more better customer service.
Yeah, definitely. That's one of the major use cases right now. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone has any questions? Oh, that'll be fun.
To Sylvia. So, what is your advice for people who want start self-learn for data science? And the second question is how ChatGPT affect the data science job scope? Yeah.
Okay, so to start, I think I shared earlier also, like you can go for all be proactive about it. And I think the most important thing is you need to set time aside. If you're working or you're studying a different thing, then definitely you need to put aside your time after work or after your study time to work on it. And I think nowadays, a lot of the courses actually have already a fixed agenda that you can follow. Like a week 1, you study this, week 2, you study that. So most importantly, if you have the will to study, you just need to follow through with the discipline, to go through it. Because it's not easy, it's not going to be easy. The courses are not going to be like just one day long, right? It's like weeks or months, and you have to commit to it. And sometimes it's not cheap either, it's expensive. So I think just go with your determination and then try to explore other things, avenues like your hackathons that is being organized. It gives you experience. In fact, you can find jobs from there as well. And then the other question that you had was how it affects data science jobs. Okay, I think for now, not to the extent that we are losing jobs yet. Data science job actually is not just, firstly, it's coding, right? We can, ChatGPT can help us to code more efficiently. So we can search what kind of coding to start with. If we think it's not advanced enough, we can search for more advanced codes. Of course, it's like how you Google, right? And then the other thing that it helps us is, I think it gives us a second opinion. You can ask it questions like, how should I approach this problem? And then the other thing that you can do is the explanatory. Yeah, it can help you augment your data set if not enough data. And then it also helps to explain theory actually. Like when it generates codes and all, it tells you like what is it trying to do at this part. And usually because as data scientists, we have to work with other people who are not data scientists, who may not be technical, who are actually business people, So, and I think our challenge is sometimes we do not know how to translate a technical thing to a layman term. So ChatGPT in that sense can also help us with that if we don't know how to find the way ourselves. So there are things that ChatGPT cannot do. So like interacting with other stakeholders, it cannot come up on a computer and be like, hey, let me talk to the stakeholder for you. So don't worry, the skill sets that is required for data scientists, aside from just knowing how to code, is also like how to deal with the stakeholders, how to interpret a problem that they have, which ChatGPT cannot. I mean, it's not going to sit there and be a stakeholder and asking what's the problem, So there are things that it can do, there are things that it cannot do. So at this period of time, I think it's best to learn what it can do to help us in our career, to advance, instead of worrying that it's going to take away our jobs for now.
Thanks, Slyvia. One of the questions is how can LLM, large language models, be useful for business other than chatbot? So I think something on top of my mind is I see a lot of startups, they use the chat, they don't really stop at customer services where they answer questions or just dump the entire library and they just answer from books. They also do agents. So meaning that they actually incorporated the workflow together with these AI models in, meaning that you can actually ask them AI to execute something. So they, in my scene that time, they call it agent GPT. So that means that it's not just a chat. You can be an agent that you call them, say, for example, I want to create a website. Okay, I want to create an Twitter account that follows a certain person, right? You can just ask them and then say that, then they can do it for you. A more advanced one is that I want to build a $1 million business, example, just an example, right? $1 million business, how can I start my marketing strategy? So they will give you 3 strategy and then they'll be like, do you want me to execute that for you? But that will involve a lot of integration work that you need to integrate your GPT, which is the main AI model, and with all sorts of workflows actually. I think that's one of the interesting use cases that I believe that they are still exploring right now called agent GPT. Is there any other one that you have on top of your mind?
I think right now most of the use cases we're exploring is customer service related. More corporate.
A few more interesting ones, the one that I know for fun one, because I'm working in like a social gaming kind of industry, right? One of it is because Snapchat launched their My AI board, one of the Snapchat influencer, she launched her own AI, like a clone of herself that rent out for as a girlfriend, like $1 for per second or something like that. Like one of the interesting use case lah. And then they are actually, so I have friends actually work in like the AI industry where he promotes for the AI ethical side of things. So he actually also told me a lot of dark story about the AI stuff, which is can be another story or like a sci-fi chat later on, right? But then there are companies actually using AI to do companionship job app that is helping people to cope for mental health and stuff like that. So I think that would be something interesting that we can explore, or for you guys to explore on that note. That is one of the questions. Is there any inputs? I think the last one, right? Last one that has gotten a lot of likes here is there are many self-proclaimed ChatGPT and AI experts out there in the market. How would Microsoft qualify someone as an expert for AI?
Wow.
Get our certification.
Can I ask ChatGPT to help me to filter?
Get certification.
That's one of the way. I think certification is one, but when you're on the job and your performance, it's also something, another part to it, right? So you can claim, you can self-proclaim that you are so great, right? But when you're doing the job itself, whether you are or not, then it's a different story. I can also say like, I can perform like Whitney Houston with who, right? But when I sing, right, if I don't sound like that, then
Yeah. Right. I think that I want to conclude our panel discussions if there's no more questions. Because there's one more. Okay, one last one. Because we need to give time to Delyn.
Hi again. I think this question is more directed to Sylvia. So with discussions with my friends, right? He works as a product manager at this online e-commerce company that starts with S and it's orange.
Okay.
So what happened is that when they have an employee cut, the first people they cut is always the data science team, because according to them, data science is not important in the company. So what is your view, and what do you think of the current and future situation of data science jobs?
In terms of that, I'm sorry your friend got cut off.
No, he didn't come
he didn't.
out.
Okay,
Yeah, he's a
that means
product
he's still
manager.
there. Okay, sorry. I think for me, data science team is, I think initially, I think it's nice to have, not necessarily to have, but over time as with AI advancement, right, there are certain things that are not becoming normalized, like machine learning models, predictive models. You need data scientists to understand it, to build it, to train it, to deploy it. So maybe some organization is still behind the curve, but then some like ours, I think is really on the curve. And also because of the AI advancement, we are also catching up, and it comes like some of the tasks that they're doing is a BAU task. It's no longer considered nice to have, don't need to have. We are contributing in terms of revenue, we are contributing in terms of response rate for campaigns. So we need to create and show the value, right? As long as we create and show the value, then the company will still need us. So I think that's my view on it. If you think that your job is being cut off or at risk of being cut off, maybe we should think about how is it not creating the value that the company is looking for, and strive to figure out how to then create that value. If that company does not appreciate your talent or value, then maybe it's a good time to move on.
Okay. I think thanks a lot, Sylvia and Casandra, for the sessions, and thanks for all the fire-burning questions. We will take okay, maybe I will just ask, right? Anyone from the online and here would need a break. I'll give 10 seconds to respond if you want. Just put out your hand. If not, I think I will want to go into the more exciting part. Say no more to reading. Let me see if someone put out their hand. Okay, so if not, then we will give Delyn a bit of time to set up, and then we will start right away. Yeah. We had a good break, walking around. So now I think we welcome. So we have Delyn here. Today we'll do a walkthrough on how do you use OpenAI to create intelligent apps. So I'll hand the floor to Delyn.
Hello everyone, so I'm Delyn. I'm a cloud solution architect in Azure. So today I'll present you a bit on OpenAI services. So this is the agenda for today. Firstly, I'll tell you a bit about OpenAI service specifically on Azure, and then I'll share you just a bit of open source because I'm more familiar with Azure services. And then I'll provide you some demos, and also you can follow along on the hands-on lab to deploy your own intelligent chatbots using ChatGPT. Okay, so if you are familiar with AI, you will know that AI has also been around for very long. It's been the buzzword since many, many years ago. The research first started in 1950s, and throughout the years, I think 2000s, 2010s, or that you heard a lot more excitement around machine learning and AI. So there's been like Watson, I think they were saying that they were the latest innovation for AI long ago, and then after that there was AWS, Google, and now there's ChatGPT. So right now ChatGPT is under the field of generative AI. So it's built upon all the other models that they had, machine learning, and generative AI is actually building on deep learning. So it has advanced capabilities. It can understand natural language processing, create new written, visual, and also auditory content. And it can provide understanding for LLM and large language models right now. So as you can see, right, ChatGPT is running on GPT 3.5. So GPT-3 actually has 175 billion parameters that are being used to train it. Whereas right now, I think if you've heard the buzz, there's GPT-4 that was released a few months ago. Unfortunately, it's still under private preview. Even I'm still trying to get access. But for GPT-4, it's not in this diagram. GPT-4 is actually trained with 1 trillion parameters. So it's up to 6 times of what GPT-3 has. And to compare or provide you an understanding of the human brain. So the human brain is supposedly trained up to 60 trillion. So it's still 60 times smarter than GPT-4 right now, but you can see the advancement has been 6 times from GPT-3 to GPT-4. So it will just progress further from that until it hits its limit, whether providing more parameters is enough to sufficiently train it to become intelligent, or whether it needs to emulate a different model of learning to actually be capable of human intelligence. Okay, so the reason why Microsoft is always talking about OpenAI is because we were a huge part of funding their research. And even currently, what I'm focusing on is Azure OpenAI, but feel free to use OpenAI because it's also still hosted onto our cloud infrastructure. So it's running on machines in the cloud. And there's also a partnership with NVIDIA where they're sponsoring or they're also providing some of their GPUs to actually provide all the training compute power. So due to this collaboration, OpenAI actually has allowed the integration to happen onto Azure, whereby you can access all the OpenAI models in Azure itself and call the APIs within it. So as you can see, there's GPT 3.5 and GPT-4, which is for focusing on text generation and also completions API. ChatGPT is for conversation. I'll go into the difference between GPT 3.5 and text WWC and ChatGPT later on. Codex is for code generation, similar to what you have seen integrated into Visual Studio. So we call it Copilot. And then DALL-E 2 is similar to Midjourney. So it's for image generation. So I'll go with a brief overview of what's the difference between OpenAI and Azure OpenAI, because we have that question a lot from our customers. So OpenAI is the one that most of you probably have tried in the public space, where ChatGPT, if you tried the OpenAI.com ChatGPT, that one is the open source OpenAI, where you can use it to converse, test it out, have it generate content for you. And the difference between Azure OpenAI service is that Azure OpenAI service, you can see that it's more ready for production use. So companies, enterprise use cases, they use Azure OpenAI service because they can host their own private data. They can use their own database, knowledge bases, whereas for OpenAI, you're using the public resource, whatever has been trained and provided. And for information for OpenAI, ChatGPT, it's only trained until 2021. So it doesn't have the latest information. If you ask it for stock prices today, it probably will not be able to answer you because it's only up until 2021. And the pricing for both is the same. So they are both priced per 1,000 tokens for OpenAI and both Azure OpenAI service. And if you've done the development a bit and tested it out, the API calling should still be the same. You just use the OpenAI key and token and also pass it your model name. And then you can just use the API similarly to how you use OpenAI versus Azure OpenAI. I think something I need to add on is if you want to use OpenAI to develop your own commercial products, you are always free to do so, just that the information will be publicly hosted, so it's not private. Okay, and this is an overview of Azure AI's services provided. So you can see OpenAI now at the bottom. Yeah, so this is newly included, whereas previously we have other AI services in the cognitive service. You can see vision, speech, language. Similar to what was asked previously, the speech to text is here in the cognitive services. But all of them, previously it was not infused with Azure OpenAI, but we are rolling out more and more features recently where Azure OpenAI has integrated into all these services. So for example, even the vision, there's been OpenAI capabilities added into it. For, let's say, cognitive search, form recognizer, there's AI GPT-3 models inbuilt, so it can be more capable and intelligent in terms of extracting the OCR values, whereas previously it's always key-based mapping. So let's say if a table, there's something called company account number, it will map one-to-one, whereas now it can understand contextually based on natural language, like how a human, emulate how humans will understand the OCR forms now. So it is not the best yet, I would say. Some data might be, some answers might still have some errors, but it is a lot more advanced for the amount of zero training they give it. Just by plugging in OpenAI, it can already be very capable compared to the old models. So I think just now there was some other questions during the panel sessions about like agents, right? So you can see Power BI, Power Apps, Power Automate. Those are also all included with Azure OpenAI right now. So for those familiar, Power Automate is something like a low-code tool that you can use to create applications, websites. But now with the added capability of GPT, it can almost become low-code. So what you can do is actually you just draw an image, a diagram of what you want your screen to look like. You take a picture, you can actually generate out the code and also create the whole web design, the screen for you out using Power Automate and also the Power Apps. Okay, so this one I'm diving in deeper into generative AI. The one that most people are familiar with is ChatGPT, but there are also a few other models available onto OpenAI. So this is applicable for both OpenAI and Azure OpenAI. They have the same APIs. You can change the model in the playground similarly. So GPT-3 is what is being used for completions API and generative API, and also inferencing. So GPT-3 is broken down into text WWCODE 1, 2, and 3. There's also a few different models like Ada, Babbage, Curie, and then DaVinci. I'll go into detail for the differences in a bit. But to further clarify, there's also Codex, Dolly, and ChatGPT that I mentioned. And the difference for ChatGPT versus GPT-3 is that ChatGPT is more chatty because its purpose is to emulate human conversations. So if you ask it questions, I think you will notice that it always tries to speak more so that it doesn't be too short and concise to let you feel that you're speaking to a real human. Whereas for GPT-3, which is Text WWC3, is the latest model, it will always be concise. It will provide you the answer directly. It will use less tokens. Tokens is a pricing method that I will share later on. So ChatGPT, I would say, is more capable of emulating conversations, whereas GPT-3 can do inference, classifications. It if I would say like it's not like smarter compared to ChatGPT, but it is serving a whole different purposes for your usage. Where's the from one?
I think someone.
Can someone draw? Is it? I think.
Is there a question? Why is there a question?
It's not from my screen. I think someone is allowed to do the drawings. Can you kick them out? Okay, just joking. Okay, this one is I won't go too deep into this slide. So we can see that the difference from Azure OpenAI is that they are large pre-trained AI models. So you don't need to do any more training data, learning, or providing further data sets to actually work. It's already large and pre-trained. And there's also built-in responsible AI to detect and mitigate harmful use. So another upcoming tool by Microsoft is we have a content AI preview coming up. So that one is for safe search and responsible use. So they will probably, once it's released, you can try it out. But right now it's only preview. So it will help guardrail against like irresponsible use, maybe foul languages, or something that is against company code or conduct. And also another feature that our customers find that is useful is the enterprise-grade RBAC. So RBAC is role-based access control where you can provide another added layer of security for your users within your company or your clients to only access certain features. Okay, this is the family of models that are available currently. So like I mentioned, there's Ada, Babbage, Curie, DaVinci, and then ChatGPT is there, and then Codex, there's like Cushman Codex and DaVinci Codex. So ChatGPT can see the capability is high, but also the inference time is low, so it's a faster model. DaVinci takes a longer time to inference, but it's more capable than Curie, Babbage, and Ada, and it's also cost different in terms of the pricing. Okay, so here is a deeper dive into different models. It's best that if you're trying to develop something, you can trial a few different models, see the answers generated and received, and then which one fits best to your use case. So DaVinci is the most capable currently for GPT-3. For information, ChatGPT is actually GPT 3.5, yeah. So for DaVinci, you can do complex, intense, cause-effect summarization, and then it is the most capable GPT-3 model right now. It has high quality, longer output, and also better instruction following. But it is more expensive than Curie, Babbage, and Ada. So if you want to do some prototyping, maybe you can try prototyping with Curie first, and then only use DaVinci later on because of the cost issue. So here you can see the limit of max tokens, right? So 4,000 is the max for DaVinci. Curie is 2,000, and Babbage is also 2,000. And the latest GPT-4 model will be 8,000 tokens. But they're also releasing a special tier for GPT-4, which is 32,000 tokens. So the more tokens you get, the more context it has, and the more capable it is of answering your questions.
It's gone already.
Oh, it's gone. Oh, okay. This one I will not. Yeah, I'll just skip the next slide. So this is a sample of the playground that is available in the ChatGPT. It will be similar to what you see for the OpenAI version of the playground. But this one is the one that's running on Azure itself. So you can see there's some settings you can do, like the model can select there, the diversity, the temperature, which shows you how similar or how dynamic your answers are. And then you can also do max tokens count to limit the usage and also control your costs. Okay. Later I'll show you a bit more on the playground, the demo for it. Okay. Another important thing to do when you're using your models is for fine-tuning. Right now, I think a lot of you have seen the job for prompt engineers. So what prompt engineers do is actually they are supposed to provide this fine tuning that is required. So for prompt engineers, right, asking a question is important in how you're framing it. So prompt engineers will make sure that to get the most precise response out, you need to provide a good prompt. So let's say if you want it to go against a financial record that's within 3 years, like maybe it's records from 2019 to 2023. If you just ask like what's the current total debt the company has, it will give you a wrong answer because you didn't specify which year, or maybe you didn't specify which department, or give it further details. So prompt engineering, to be more, to simplify it, is something similar to that. You need to provide a good question, you need to provide guardrails. So this is where fine tuning comes in. So for fine tuning in Azure itself, because we have our own private data, you can actually add your own data sets for a few samples of the answer prompts and questions that you want, answers that you want, yeah. So you can upload a data set in JSON or CSV format, and then this will help to train it to provide the answers that you want. And one thing that it tends to do, if you've tried the ChatGPT online, is that it will provide you untrue statements. And then if you tell it that it's wrong, it will actually adjust and try to learn from your response. So this is one of the methods of fine-tuning it. But if you abuse it, of course, you will learn the wrong thing, which is a danger that is being posed to the GPT model right now. So that is something that is important. So another thing that we call it is hallucinations. So we will provide guardrails in your application itself. You can tell it that what is not, do not do this, do not do that into your guardrails in your application, and then you will enhance the response and then provide better information to your customers. So this is a few examples for fine tuning. I think, I'm not sure if you'll share the slide later, but let me see if I can share in the chat later for this information. Okay, so just now what I was speaking about is mostly for text generation and ChatGPT. This is the Codex model. So there's Copilot available in the market right now. And Copilot actually built on the Codex model, as you can see. So GitHub Copilot is something that you can enable in your GitHub account. If you're using GitHub Enterprise, it's available. And also, if you're an individual user, you can use a free trial. And if you want to pay for it, I think it's $10 per month. And for business users, it's $90 for business. So the difference for GitHub for business is that there's further company-wide policies you can do. You can enforce configurations for your organization, do more role access-based control, and so on. And GitHub Copilot actually helps to reduce your coding, coding statistics, yeah, up to 40%. So it helps a lot, and it can also detect a few different languages. I think Python is the main one, is the most proficient in Python. And it has C#, SQL, Java, JavaScript. So if you try it out, you realize that if you write let's say a declaration or comment to your code, right, you will see that it can generate out the next line, like how to declare your functions, implementations, what to import, and it'll give you the whole block of function code automatically. And once you click tab, you can accept the code, and it will be used into your code file. Okay, so what it does, the biggest capability is that naturally it will change natural language to code. So from previous coding languages where it was C++, like C#, and then to Python, it became more high level. The syntax became more human-like, human-readable. Whereas now with Codex, you can actually just use natural language, convert the code, and then that's how the development will work right now. Okay. To add on something that's not here in the slide, there's actually a new feature called Copilot X that will be still in preview, but it will provide you capabilities of doing Copilot chat. So let's say if you have a piece of code or a whole project that you have, you can just highlight it. You can tell it to explain the code to you. It will actually convert it the other way, whereas like coding to natural language to actually give you understanding of what the code does. You can chat with it directly to actually do like pair programming. But that's in Copilot X, which is not launched yet. Bing. I think rarely anyone uses Bing right now. It's in age, and the first thing we do is just download Chrome, which I do too last time. Now I'm exploring Bing because it's powered by ChatGPT and AI. So as I mentioned previously, for ChatGPT, it's actually trained until 2021. But if you use Bing, right, it has the latest information because it's integrated into the search engine. So it has the latest information. It can pull from all the resources on the internet and then provide you an answer. You can also check with it online, and it will be powered by all public information available on the internet. So if you haven't yet, you can try it out. I think you need to join a waitlist on your Edge browser, and then it will provide you a whitelist, and then you can try out in your search bar directly. Yeah, so to summarize, these are the top 4 capabilities of Azure OpenAI. You can do content generation. Basically, that is mostly for chatbots. And then the summarization, if you have a huge file of like financial reports or a huge reference for, let's say, your company HR data, your benefits, you can use that for summarization. Code generation is for the codex model, where you can convert natural language to the programming language that you need. Right now, it would be working best with Python, but I've tried it with some legacy code before. It still works, but I can't guarantee the accuracy, but it will try its best to answer you based on the data available that it has and has been trained on. And then there's also semantic search, which you can search for specific products. It will still understand it and also give you the results. These are some of the use cases that we have. So customer end-to-end call center analytics, and also business process automation. Okay, here I will highlight about the pricing for OpenAI. So it is priced per 1,000 token. Each token is about 4 characters in English language. And since right now ChatGPT and OpenAI is actually capable of using a few different languages, do note that the pricing is different for, let's say, Chinese or Malay. Since Chinese, the characters are written differently. It's not similar to like how we use the alphabets in English. So the pricing is counted different. It's not just 4 characters anymore. Whereas for English, it's more straightforward. It's about 4 characters per token, and they charge per 1,000 token. And also do note when you're doing your prototyping that it takes into account input plus output. So let's say if you ask your question, you probably a longer prompt to structure it, to fine-tune it, like say, give an answer based on how you would if you were a RS agent or things like that. Those are also included into the input prompts, and they will charge you based on that. So it's a total of the input and output tokens. But to be fair, it isn't too expensive. I think about 1,000 tokens is just 2 cents. But of course, it will increase if you have a huge customer base. Yeah, another thing you can use is the OpenAI tokenizer, where you can provide estimation of how many tokens you've used. I think in the playground, if you've played with it, there's also a token count down there for you to keep track of how many tokens you've used and what's the estimated charges. This is similar to what I've mentioned previously about the pricing. Okay. That completes the Azure OpenAI section that I have. I'll move on to the open source OpenAI. Okay, so I don't know how many have started using LangChain or explored about it, because right now, the moment that ChatGPT was released, or even years before that, but it's gained a lot of traction recently. So a lot of open source developers have started developing and releasing their own models. So one of the biggest ones are Hugging Face, where is a community-driven OpenAI development platform where they have their own APIs hosted. It's free, you can use it. And with how quickly and rapidly the open source space has been developing, LangChain was developed to help bridge all these different tools together, so it can integrate into something called like a flow method of programming. So whereby it chains together all the different components. For example, OpenAI, even Azure OpenAI, but it can tie to other open source tools like Wolfram, Google, all the community APIs available on Hugging Face. So this is some added knowledge if you're looking to do other development or testing that you want. So you can check out LangChain, and I've pasted there's some links here. We can see there's the OpenLM leaderboard. So since this one is quite interesting because there are constantly so many new LM models coming out. And this shows you the top ones are based on how much data they train with, how popular it is, things like that. This is just a simple slide to compare the AI image generation. So Microsoft's, Azure OpenAI's we have is DALL-E. Actually the results are varied depending on what sort of prompt you give it. So personally, when I tried DALL-E, wasn't too accurate because when I asked it to create some characters or profiles, it actually generates something a bit more cartoonish. But recently, it's improved. Whereas Midjourney, as I think most of you know, it's quite advanced. It was the model to beat, but the other two are catching up very fast. And Stable Diffusion, I think it's the middle ground between the two. But the advantage of using Stable Diffusion is you have a website. Midjourney is only through Discord, so the methods of using it is different, and also playing with it. So you can check this out later. I would say there's no one model that's the best now for image generation. Maybe we'll see what GPT-4 brings, because GPT-4 has the added capability of contextually understanding from images itself. So that concludes my overview of all the OpenAI services, and now is the hands-on lab where I'll show you some demos. So if you all have Azure OpenAI access, you can try to follow along, but I'm not sure whether that's all of you have it yet, because you need to request for the access. I don't know if you did it prior to this session. And one of the criteria that you need to do is that when you're requesting for OpenAI access through Azure, you need to actually have a company email. So you cannot use your own personal email. It must be at contoso.com, not at Hotmail or at, it cannot be a personal account. But I would like to highlight that if you want to follow along this lab, I will show you how to try to customize it to use the OpenAI, the open source OpenAI, sorry, not open source OpenAI, but the OpenAI service itself that's not tied to Azure. And you can try to integrate it, because at the end of the day, all the OpenAI services that are provided are just mostly APIs. So as long as you pass the API key for your own account, you can actually access it. Just give it the model name, the key, and then you can call it from the application itself. So this is the sample architecture that I'll be deploying today. It's a very simple one. So there's a Azure App Service, which will be hosting the front-end chat interface. There's the Azure Cosmos DB, which is hosting the chat sessions and saving all your data. And then the app service will actually interface with Azure OpenAI APIs, where you will get all the answers, completions, and also responses. Okay, so when I just click on the link, this is actually from an ARM template that was generated. So if you're familiar with infrastructure as code, it's a quick and I would say replicable method of deploying applications where you use a JSON template. You'll create all the services for you in Azure. AWS has it too, but it's infrastructure as a code where you can plug it into your DevOps cycle. You'll just replicate all the services you have so that you can create the services as you need based on the architecture that I showed just now. So I showed 3 components in architecture. You can put it all in this JSON file, which you can see from here, edit template. So as long as you have this file here, you can just use this to deploy a similar architecture to your own services. So you can see I have Cosmos DB, which is the database, OpenAI service that I'm deploying, and then the GitHub repository that I have that's hosting the code for the front end. and also all the container names, database names. Okay, let me just go back. So I can put in my own resource groups. Then the chat app name, you can name it anything you want. Right now, OpenAI is only available in US region, so there's only East US, South, Central US, and also West Europe. So for this one, if you want to try it out, right, there's also a free tier for you. So just leave it default as free tier. Capacity leave it as 1, and also the Cosmos free tier also leave it as true. For me, I've used false because I'm using my own corporate account. And then you can leave the throughput as true. So for all these, if you deploy it, it will cost quite minimal amount because of all the free services. I think about $5 if you're testing it. And if you don't ask too many questions, because as mentioned, 1,000 tokens is just 2 cents. It won't cost too much if you try it out. So then after that, you can just review and create, do a tagging and anything else, and then you can just deploy it. So for this purpose, I don't think I'll deploy it because you have to wait for a bit. I'll show you what I have currently. I think it's blocking my. Okay, this one. Okay, so you can see this is the sample chatbot that will be deployed just from that single template. So once you click the link, it will generate out the services for you. And once you click create, this is what is created. And the front end that you see here is the one that was hosted on app service I mentioned previously. So it's a serverless code to host your applications. And you can ask it questions, your response. And one of the key features of ChatGPT, I think as you know it, is that it has contextual understanding. So let's say if I ask it, let's wait for a bit. Yeah. So you can see it actually understands the previous context of it to know that the previous idea number 1 is actually handwriting recognition app, whereby it can provide you further elaboration. So again, all these you are able to actually change the model from the playground. So this is the sample playground. Yeah, so you can see you can do some system messages. It's an RS chatbot. You can start chatting with it. You can do the deployment, what type of models you want. You can change to chat or completions API. So as mentioned, completions API is text Da Vinci and chat is ChatGPT. So you can change all that, do a temperature mapping and so on. This also will be similar to what you have in the OpenAI playground. So you can check that out, and I will show you a bit on where the API goes. So this is a bit more deep dive already. I'll just show a very simple one. So you can see that this is what the deployment actually did just now to deploy this piece of code. You can see that all you need to declare is this public OpenAI service. If you have Copilot installed, Copilot can just create this whole function for you. So that's the capability of the code generation. You just provide a command, let's say, create an OpenAI service for me. This will be generated out for you. And all you need to provide is the OpenAI URI, the key, the deployment, which is all similar to the other OpenAI deployment that's not Azure, under Azure, and you can use that. And all you need to do after that is to just call the client get completion exin to the OpenAI server. So you pass it a prompt, you get back an answer response in API format. Then you just need to use that to develop your own application. Okay, I think I'm almost at the end of my session, but I will just show you one last architecture. So this is a sample one that is is also available on GitHub. You can try to deploy it, but for this one, I would advise you to be cautious because this is quite expensive to deploy. Since there's a lot of services, the purpose I showed you the one before is there's only 3 services involved. So the app service, the Cosmos DB, which can be free, and then OpenAI itself. Whereas this one, you need a lot of different services such as the Azure Cognitive Search, which will go through all your knowledge base that you hosted here. So so this is to summarize, I think it's blocked here. Is a ChatGPT plus enterprise data deployment. So this is similar to what a lot have been asking just now, where you can provide your own company knowledge base and data into these database servers. You upload files like financial statements, your own company policies, and then using Azure Cognitive Search, you can actually query all those and pass it on, where OpenAI ChatGPT will be able to parse all those text that's been extracted into natural language, so that when you ask, let's say, what's my vacation balance, it will actually be able to tell you what's your balance right now based on the database you have. So this is one of the key features of why Azure OpenAI versus normal OpenAI, because here you can host your own data in your servers. You can use leverage on other Azure services like Cognitive Search or Azure Form Recognizer, which is the OCR tool that is capable of extracting from handwritten forms all the way to like tables. So that is the added capability that is available. I think that is all from me. Is there any questions?
Got one question online. How the bot will remember the context when user interact from a channel like Microsoft Teams?
Microsoft Teams itself has its own integration into OpenAI. Sadly, I'm more expert in Azure, so I cannot advise too much on the Teams, but you will always have a database that you have to actually store the past messages. So from what I showed you previously, I think from this, right, you can see there's the Azure Cosmos DB, which is our NoSQL version for databases. If you use the app service here, you have to code it in where you store all the prompts, the questions, and the answers into Cosmos DB. And then when you need to have it interact on the next question, you need to provide the past chat session to provide a context, whereby it will answer based on and have an understanding of the previous context based on the information you stored into your database itself. So that should be similar to what you have in the Teams apps, just that you deploy the chatbot into a Teams application, not an app service here, which is more general use case where you can do your own front-end designs or UX designs.
Any question? If not, I have. Sorry. Because I was exploring on this code, right? I know that earlier on you will need to send in the prompts on the previous chat just to keep the memory on, right?
Yeah.
And I know that there's also limitation on the tokens, so you can hit up to like 2,000 plus tokens, right?
4,000 for this one, yeah.
Oh.
It's right, let's say 4,000, yeah.
So how can we actually optimize that?
What I can do is maybe you can get it to summarize the past response and then try to provide it in. But if not, 4,000 tokens usually should be sufficient, or you can wait for GPT-4, which is 8,000 up to 32,000 tokens.
So from that node, won't the processing be too long for a response?
I don't think it'll be long because it's optimized now. It's just that the costing will go up.
Yeah.
So the more input you put, the more tokens it uses, and the more expensive it will be. Yeah.
Thank you.
More just for the private Azure service. Let's say you get our own knowledge base, right? Let's say it's multiple charts. Let's say 1,000 or 2,000 concurrently or in the same time coming in. How much the speed will respond for our knowledge model database? And what's the database recommend? Because now a lot of SME companies are using the MySQL, this free database. So have you tested the speed to retrieve the knowledge base on our server and respond to 1,000 chart at the same time, or what it takes? Any limit?
I think currently the limit for response, there is an issue because of the demand. So even our own personal playground, we're limited to about a few thousand tokens per minute where they try to limit us. But if you're using enterprise and you're a subscriber, of course the priority will be placed onto you. So the response time, I think, will still be a few seconds depending on your complexity of the questions. Because if you need to go into the database to query, so like what I showed for this, like if there's more dependency on other databases, then you will have to expect a longer response time. But I would say it's not too long, maybe like 2 to 5 seconds from my testing itself. And then let's say if you're asking about what database to use, right? So that highly depends on you because it's integratable to a lot of different databases like Cosmos DB that I mentioned. Because Cosmos DB, they have different tiering. It's cheaper if you're using for free tier, and then there's some throughput you can enable for that, where you can support NoSQL plus SQL queries. And then, of course, there's your normal SQL database. And if, let's say, you are using from forms, right, you can upload that to blob storage, where you can extract using the Azure Connective Search. So those you upload as PDF files, right? So you can extract from that, and you will be using blob storage, which is cheaper because the blob you'll charge per gigabyte. So that will be the recommended use case depending on what you want to, what sort of data you want to upload. Yeah. But for big enterprises, probably you need a data warehouse, a data lake for that. Does that answer your question, or is it okay? Any other example?
Hi, Delyn. So my question is more specific on the public ChatGPT. I'm currently using it for my assignment a lot. Okay, very helpful. So I noticed one thing is the longer the chat history, right, the chat response become less precise. Like it's always say apologies for confusion, right? So I'm wondering why is that happening?
I think that depends on what's your past conversation. If let's say there was contradictory questions or information provided, it might get confused. That's why fine-tuning and prompt engineering is important. And what I mentioned previously for the dataset upload. So in the playground, you can upload your datasets with the JSON and CSV of recommended answers and responses. And also, if this question is asked, what sort of response you can give. So those are guardrails you can provide. For the public ChatGPT, I cannot advise much because I do not know. I mean, it's they are trained based on the training data up until 2021. So if your past history of the chat like is correcting it to say like this answer is wrong, it might be trying to do the learning itself, and that's why the accuracy of the data might be impacted. So fine tuning will be needed.
So does that mean today, if my company were to implement a ChatGPT, the private one, then we have to hire a prompt engineer specifically? Does that mean, or Microsoft will do the job?
Microsoft will provide you the Azure OpenAI service that you can integrate to all the other services. So like the benefits of using Azure OpenAI is that, let's say your app services, they want to host your websites or the database is easily integratable, and also they are always enhancing with new OpenAI features, like you can use OpenAI to actually perform data analytics on Power BI already right now. So the training itself, I know Microsoft will do it because it is your own data. So probably your own data engineers or prompt engineers will need to provide some added fine-tuning or training onto that and upload your own data sets. Yeah.
Okay. My last question. Why Microsoft chose to train until 2021 but not 2022?
That's GPT-4. That's why it's up to the latest model. I think the 2021 is GPT-3, which they released for public use and experimentation. But GPT-4 has already been released, and the capabilities from what I saw is leaps ahead of what GPT-3 had. That is updated to a later set of data. Yeah, it's just that the public consumption has GPT-3 is until 2021. They're still learning. There's a GPT-5 that probably will come out maybe, but they're constantly updating with data.
Can you show us how you train the GPT to fine tune it? Some brief. Because you know you can give a table answer, they will come out without a table, right? How you going to compose?
Okay. I think there are small favor to ask is to demo on maybe show just a glance through on how can we fine tune the
I think I
HR
shall.
side. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a data file section you can upload here, so you can click for how to fine tune. Okay, there's some guidelines here and the sort of format we can do, like let's say the prompt. This is the prompt you provide in JSON format, and then the completion you can provide, like the answer. So you can upload all these data sets to actually fine tune it into your own playground, and then it will learn based on those data sets and provide a better response. Or similar to it's a bit slow, but yeah, I can provide guardrails for you to ask it to respond according to what you need. And also, if you're fine tuning, you can update your knowledge base data sets and then let it know, correct it when there's a wrong information so that it has context of what is the right response.
Thank you. There's one online saying, any tips on how to optimize the cost of integrating AI to AI search or text summary feature for over 50K monthly users?
One thing funny that I actually did when we were doing some customer response previously is we actually asked ChatGPT to estimate the cost for us. So the price was actually quite high, like a few thousand USD. But what you can do is you can limit the max tokens. I don't know if it's shown here, but for this one, there's actually a max token you can set. And then it will actually, you can integrate into your APIs where when you create your client OpenAI service in your code, you can put the max tokens there to actually limit the length of the response to you. So that's one way of actually optimizing costs. But probably later on, maybe they have different pricing model. There I can't be sure.
Okay. Another question is on vector database. So what is a vector database, and does Azure have any similar products?
That one I think is still in preview. It's called vector search, which is not yet publicly available, but it's a different method of searching through the natural language processing. So that one is still underway, but it will be released. I don't have a target date yet, but it is in progress in preview. Yeah.
The last one is there any training cost provided for Azure? Azure OpenAI?
I think I have one slide for. Oh no, I think you have to do it online, or we have a lot of. If you see any events happening on LinkedIn, you can of course join it. There's quite a few sharing sessions for Azure OpenAI, the learning course on MS Learn that's free. And if you have a company account or not a personal email, you can actually sign up to this and try to test it out because you have, I think, $200 credit if you sign up for the Azure account and enable your free trial. So you can try that out. If not, there's always like you can see the link here. The Azure samples GitHub, you can browse there to look for some demos available. So even this whole architecture and whole services are available on GitHub. You can deploy it using the steps there to try it out. Yeah. But do be aware of costing again for this one. Yeah.
Thanks. Okay, I think because we are running out of time, I'll keep the last one, right? So kind.
Hello. I want to ask two questions. One is, what are some of the use cases of long chain? And another question is, when you're using ChatGPT Enterprise one, can you ask unethical or offensive questions? Will it restrict you like in ChatGPT, the public one? Okay, those are two questions. Thank you.
Your first one was the LangChain use case, right? So LangChain is actually the core idea is because there are so many LLM models outside right now is to chain all the different services together. So let's say like here you can see you can use OpenAI with Google, with Wolfram to actually chain your applications together. In the future, the target that they want to do is that maybe because it's infused with OpenAI, right? Maybe you can contextually understand what models you need. And that's the future capability that's aiming to do, whereby you can select the services you need and also put it into a flow. So your application is not limited to just one OpenAI model or one LLM model. You can chain together a few. And I mentioned Hugging Face is one of the community developed OpenAI, one of the most prominent and also most active one. You can actually integrate it to whatever SDK or libraries built in Hugging Face. And let's say recently, Expedia or let's say Skyscanner, they are also publishing their own OpenAI APIs that can be integrated together. So that means that they are making their knowledge base accessible via OpenAI APIs. So you can actually query it for flight details, upcoming flights. So that's what I can do with LangChain. And also ChatGPT itself, which is OpenAI, they're also developing their own plugins to integrate to other providers, like I mentioned. And sorry, your second question was?
Second question is, can I ask unethical questions in
no. So OpenAI is also still using the same API models as OpenAI. It will have its own guardrails to prevent that. And as I mentioned, Azure itself is developing its own responsible AI service that is in preview. So once that release, you can have tighter and more stricter governance for that.
I think to add on LangChain also is a very powerful wrapper around the LLM, whereby just now we touched a bit on the memory side of things, right? I think LangChain is also one of the ways to help with the entire prompt storing memory side of things. That's my only input. Yeah. So I think we are running out of time. So sorry. So if you have any more questions, you can always touch base with Delyn on LinkedIn or any of our speakers here for more questions, or we can stay on later on. I will then need to share back my screens for Thanks a lot, Delyn.
No
Thank you. I'll share the screen.
You just forward, right?
No, you have to unshare.
Stop sharing.
Okay. Thank you. Ken, thank you.
You need to pull your Zoom call.
Yeah. Okay. We are towards the end of our sessions. Thanks a lot for attending the sessions. And I think we value feedback a lot. So it would be great if you guys can scan and then let us know your feedback about the event. That also includes the upcoming events that you would want to hear from us. So you can actually put it down saying that you want a ChatGPT part 2 or you want Delyn to have a second demonstration, you know, like the actual hands-on work, anything, right? Just put it down and then we'll try to Okay, so if I can go to the next one. Next events, you know where to find us. PTX, Meetup, LinkedIn, Facebook. We are pretty active, so you can check out new events. The more critical one is the LinkedIn for all the speakers. We have Sylvia one, Casandra, Delyn, and mine. Can you go mine if you want. The three of them. You can engage them for any other GPT related questions that you want. Oh, sorry, I put the wrong one for Casandra. Let me just edit it right now.
In case if I never reply, then you know it's because it's not me.
Sorry. Ayo. Sorry, copy wrong. Yeah. Copy the previous.
Let me just send it to you. Yeah, you already done that.
Yeah,
Thank you, Faye.
Oh, it looks the same. So I thought it's the same. This is the exact thing, the link. But don't search out their name, okay? The link, the name will show up. And the face is, I think it's straight away from the link. You won't miss it, okay? You won't miss it. Okay, I think that will be for today. Thanks a lot for attending. If you guys are okay, can we really have a group